She didn't raise her voice, not once. But when the human stood before the Galactic Council and said, "You broke into our home, and now you're asking why we changed the locks with a shotgun," half the room flinched. The Dravari called it a peacekeeping operation. Earth called it an invasion. What happened next didn't just end an empire, it rewrote every war manual in the galaxy, and now she's here to explain why. You wanted to understand humanity? Buckle in. You may not survive. The answer. The chamber was dead silent, save for the soft, mechanical whir of the ceiling filters. Even those seemed to hesitate when she entered. Major Kira Voss stepped into the center of the Galactic Council's tribunal chamber, boots echoing like gunshots on polished alloy. Her uniform bore no medals, no rank insignia, only the seal of Earth's Unified Defense Command pressed over her heart like a silent dare. She didn't bow, didn't blink. She stood straight, arms at her sides, head high, scanning the arc of alien dignitaries as if she were memorizing their weaknesses. From his elevated dais, Ambassador Vexrin Tal sneered. His golden robes shimmered under the station's artificial lighting. His eyes, narrow and blue like a glacier's heart, fixed on her with the scorn of someone who still couldn't believe his empire had bled. "Major Voss," he said, voice measured and artificial, "you've been summoned to account for your species' actions. What Earth did to the Dravari cannot be ignored." Voss didn't move. Vexerin's voice sharpened. "You destabilized an interstellar superpower. You reverse-engineered our technology. You turned peaceful systems into militarized sectors. And you, your kind, broadcast threats to galactic channels. Tell us, human." "Why?" Voss didn't blink. "You attacked our home." He clicked his tongue. "We initiated a containment operation. Your weaponization was spreading. We tried to stop it before it infected the stars." She took one step forward, just one. The chamber held its breath. "You tried to declaw a species that crawled out of ice ages and nuclear ash. You came to Earth to teach us peace and led with guns." A murmur rippled through the council. Some turned to Vexrin, others back to her. She let it hang there. No dramatics, no outrage, just fact. The Vokri ambassador, skeletal and translucent, raised two of its tendrils. "Major Voss, if what you say is true, then explain how a non-federated world, primitive by galactic standards, shattered an empire in 7 days." She nodded once. "I will." Council silence returned, denser this time. "I won't tell you a story. I'll give you the truth. You want to know why humans are dangerous? It's not because we're violent. It's because we're good at adapting to those who are." Vexrin hissed. "Your kind revels in death." "No," she said. "We survive it." Another ripple. The silence wasn't passive anymore. It was tense, focused, waiting. "You misread us," she continued. "You saw tribal wars, nation-states, proxy conflicts, global militaries, and assumed we were primitive. You didn't realize war wasn't a failure of our species. It was how we trained for everything else." Vexrin leaned forward. "So, you admit it? Your history is a chain of violence." "No," she said flatly. "Our history is a chain of adaptation. Our world tried to kill us long before we ever pointed weapons at each other." She glanced around the chamber. "Your worlds are gentle, controlled climates, predictable seasons, balanced ecosystems. Earth was chaos, apex predators in every forest, disasters in every generation, ice ages, plagues, volcanoes. Humanity didn't build civilization because it wanted to. It built it because the alternative was extinction." Vokri's voice quivered. "But the Dravari offered your species peace. They gave you technology, medicine, star charts. They entered our skies without asking, disabled our satellites, jammed our communications, then told us we were lucky to be uplifted." The chamber fell cold. "That wasn't peace," she said. "That was conquest wrapped in velvet." Vexerin's composure cracked. The Federation deemed Earth a Category 4 war risk zone. We acted within galactic law. You violated our skies. You responded with genocide. Voss stared at him like a man about to confess something he didn't understand yet. Your fleet burned our cities from orbit. You called it non-lethal suppression. You told us our resistance was futile. She leaned forward, voice low and sharp. We didn't resist. We observed, Vexrin scoffed. You think that sounds clever? She shrugged. It wasn't meant to sound clever. It was meant to tell you the truth. The first rule of engagement on Earth isn't fight back. It's understand. Your enemy. We studied your ships, your tactics, your command structure. We didn't panic. We planned. Vokri again. And then you retaliated. No, she said. Then we started solving problems. Vexrin laughed bitterly. Solving problems? You destroyed our orbital fleet. You mean the one that hovered over civilian centers expecting compliance? Yes, that fleet. We dismantled it in silence. How? The Torshak delegate asked, his voice like shifting gravel. Voss paused, then offered the first and only smile of the session. Because unlike the rest of you, we don't assume survival. We earn it. No one spoke after that. The ambassador of Jareth broke the silence. You mean to say you expected this? Voss shook her head. We didn't expect invasion. We just never stopped preparing for it. Vexrin's voice came quieter now. So you're saying your species lives in a state of permanent paranoia? She turned toward him. No, we live in reality. You called it paranoia until we proved you wrong. For a long moment, no one in the chamber spoke. Even the automated translators seemed to hesitate, as if weighing the risk of relaying her words. Finally, Voss said, You wanted to know why humanity's dangerous. It's not our weapons. It's not our aggression. It's that we remember every lesson, every betrayal, every war. Her voice lowered. And we learn faster than you can warn each other. She stepped back into the center of the circle, folding her arms behind her. I'll explain everything, she said to the council. But understand this. The war you feared already happened. You lost. The only reason you're still breathing is because we decided not to escalate. The lights in the chamber dimmed slightly, an automatic system sensing prolonged stillness. No one noticed. All eyes remained locked on the human. The silence lingered like smoke after a shot. No one spoke, no one moved. Voss let them sit in it, let the fear settle like dust. Then she began. You asked how we became what we are. The answer's simple. Our world tried to kill us before. We could even speak. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. Your species evolved on stable worlds, predictable cycles, balanced predators. You learned philosophy before war. We didn't have that luxury. The Torshak delegate tilted its massive head. What kind of threats required such adaptation? Voss's eyes stayed fixed ahead. Every kind. Our sun flared unpredictably. Our oceans rose and fell. Ice ages buried continents. Entire civilizations vanished beneath ash or water or time. Disease swept through our cities faster than any cure could follow. Vexrin sneered. Hardship doesn't excuse barbarism. She met his gaze. It doesn't excuse anything. It explains everything. A soft murmuring swept the chamber. Again, unsettled. Voss continued, her words cutting clean. Every time nature knocked us down, we got back up. And every time, we came back harder, faster, more dangerous. We stopped praying for mercy. We built walls, weapons, vaccines, machines. We turned famine into logistics, turned plague into science, turned loss into drive. The Vokri ambassador whispered, How many wars did your species survive? She paused, calculating. We don't have an exact number. But in 1 century alone, Earth's 20th, we had over 250 recognized armed conflicts. From tribal uprisings to global wars, Vexrin scoffed. And you're proud of that? No, she said. We're alive because of it. She stepped forward slowly, hands clasped behind her back. Peace was never our default. Peace had to be engineered, maintained like fragile glass between steel hammers. We didn't evolve in paradise. We evolved in chaos. Our first tools weren't for farming. They were for killing predators twice our size. Voss stopped pacing. You called us primitive, but you didn't see the truth. We built empires from rubble. We made gods of lightning and then caged it in wires. Every disaster sharpened us. Every collapse taught us how to rebuild better. An alien voice asked from the shadows, "What about morality? Compassion?" She looked up. We have those, but they came after we learned how to endure. Vexrin leaned forward again. You admit it then. Violence is your nature. No, she said. Resilience is... He narrowed his eyes. Semantics. Reality, she snapped back. Our resilience means we don't stop when we're wounded. We don't surrender when we're overpowered. We don't wait for rescue. We become the rescue. She let the words hang. One winter, in one ancient land, our ancestors starved. So they ate tree bark, then their own dead. They didn't die out. They adapted. We carry that instinct in every cell, not as memory, as design. The Torshak delegate shifted uncomfortably. You speak as though survival is worth more than peace. To us, Voss nodded. It is. Because survival is the only thing we ever earned with certainty. She scanned the chamber again. You all inherited stability. We had to carve it out with blood. That's not philosophy. That's biology. A long pause followed. She didn't fill it. She waited. Finally, the Vokri ambassador broke it. And when the Dravarii came, what did your people see? Voss's voice dropped low. A promise that smelled like a trap. She looked at Vexrin. You came down with gifts. But no one comes bearing medicine and orbital superiority unless they expect resistance. You spoke peace. But your ships carried enough firepower to wipe us clean. That's not diplomacy. That's insurance. Vexrin's composure cracked again. You mistake caution for threat. No, she said. We just know that smiling empires hide sharp teeth. The chamber had changed. Their judgmental glances had become questions. Doubt. Discomfort. You didn't discover a violent species, Voss said. You discovered one that didn't need you. One that knew how to bleed and keep moving. And that terrified you. Vexrin growled. You call us afraid? She nodded. You're afraid of what we mean. We didn't just survive Earth. We mastered it. Then we looked up. The Torshak delegate muttered, And what did you see? She looked directly at him. Targets, challenges, opportunity, everything worth fighting for. Would you have expanded? Another asked. No, she said. We weren't looking to conquer, we were looking to prepare. Your arrival just accelerated the timeline. She took one final breath, then said quietly, When the Dravarii fleet entered orbit, Earth's nations didn't panic. They reactivated protocols buried for generations. Emergency bunkers opened. Black site labs went dark. Civilian networks ran drills coded in nursery rhymes. She looked down, then back at Vexrin. You thought we were a fractured species. But in that moment, every wall between us fell. Another alien asked, You unified under attack? She gave the faintest nod. For the first time in decades, we had a single objective. You gave us clarity. And when humans get clarity, we finish the job. The words were cold, not boastful, just final. Council members shifted. Some wouldn't meet her eyes anymore. Earth didn't provoke you, she said. We just responded, like we always have. She took one step back to center. This isn't a confession, she said. It's a history lesson, one you should have studied before you invaded. No one answered her. The council chamber was silent again. But now it wasn't because they doubted her. It was because they believed every word. When Voss spoke again, the chamber leaned in as if gravity itself had shifted. "You wanted proof of our efficiency," she began, voice steady. "This is the day it happened." She closed her eyes for a heartbeat, then opened them on Vexren's pale consternation. "Dravari ships loomed over our capitals like gods," she said. "They broadcast messages in every language. Submit, resistance is unnecessary. They disabled orbitals, nuked our orbital defenses, non-lethal, they claimed. Then they waited." An uneasy murmur ran through the council. "The Jareth," Ambassador swallowed visibly. Voss pressed on. "Earth vanished, not in panic, but in protocol." She described the blackout, sensor arrays flickering out, global networks rerouting in seconds, satellites deploying decoy signals. Every system we built to survive catastrophe kicked into gear. Underground command centers, once fiction, became real. Governments merged command chains. Tech labs turned. From consumer goods to countermeasures overnight. The Torshak delegate's voice cracked. "You adapted so quickly?" Voss nodded. "We rehearsed for this since we first flew to the moon. Contingency plans layered like armor." She let that sink in before continuing. "But adaptation alone wasn't enough. We needed leverage." Voss's expression hardened. "Our intelligence units harvested Dravari comms, traced command frequencies, reverse-engineered propulsion signatures in hours. We mapped their fleet's neural nets, then rewrote them." Vexren snapped. "You weaponized our minds." "No," she countered. "You weaponized our world. We simply turned the tables." She recounted the moment when every Dravari vessel lost coordination, when once impenetrable shields flickered as if short-circuited by unseen hands. Hundreds of ships drifted lifeless over empty skies. No explosions, no fanfare, just silence. Then surrender transmissions. "We submit. We require nothing further." Council members recoiled. Some exchanged horrified glances. Voss spoke softer. "We didn't bomb them back to dust. We dismantled their will to invade. You taught us that mercy is a weakness. We taught you that it can be a weapon." She paused, scanning the chamber. "Our retaliation wasn't agony. It was revelation. We showed you the cost of underestimating us." A hush followed. Finally, the Vokri ambassador murmured, "And after 7 days, Voss straightened. "Their flag fell. Their capital surrendered. Dravari leadership begged for mercy they refused to grant us. So we offered a choice. Exile or peace under our terms?" Vexren's eyes glinted with fury. "You call that peace?" "Restoration," she replied. "You reset the board. We reset the stakes." The council shifted uncomfortably. No one dared meet Vexren's gaze. Voss let the weight of that moment hang. "Your empire collapsed. Not because we had superior firepower," she said quietly. "We had resolve, relentless innovation, unbreakable unity. We refused to see defeat as an option." A single finger tapped on the chronometer embedded in the dais. Time had frozen. Even the airlocks felt still. Voss concluded, "That day Earth didn't just defend itself. It announced to the galaxy that we no longer accept threats. That lesson echoes now in every world that heard those dying transmissions." She stepped back. "You asked why humanity is the galaxy's most terrifying warrior species. It's not our weapons. It's our refusal to be surprised." Silence followed, deeper than before. Vexren's lips trembled. The council had no questions left. They had witnessed history. When Major Voss spoke again, the atmosphere shifted from stunned to alert. She let the council's gaze settle on her before beginning. "You saw our defenses and assumed chaos," she said. "But what terrifies the galaxy isn't wild aggression. It's our mind." She paced the polished floor, each step deliberate. Humanity didn't learn to fight for glory. We learned to fight to survive. That survival forged a doctrine: anticipate every outcome, then prepare for the worst. The Torshak delegate leaned forward, gravelly voice low. Your simulations, how extreme do they go? Voss answered without hesitation. Our war games include scenarios where Earth is invaded by multiple fronts, alien viruses, even rogue AI. We challenge ourselves until failure becomes impossible. She paused, drawing in the weight of their scrutiny. We embed lessons in children's stories, teach every student to spot patterns in conflict, train civilians in crisis response. A barista might double as a communications specialist under fire. A teacher could hack enemy drones. That's not paranoia. It's community resilience. A ripple ran through the seated envoys. Voss continued. Emotional endurance matters as much as tactics. We don't just harden steel. We temper human will. When grief strikes, we channel it. Every funeral becomes research: how to rebuild faster, how to manufacture hope. From the dais, Vexren Tal sneered. You weaponize sorrow? Voss met, his glare evenly. Not weaponize. Transform. When your family falls in battle, you don't collapse. You catalog that pain, then refine strategy so no one else endures it. She offered a case study. In one coastal city, residents lost half their population to a tidal wave. Within days, they organized supply chains by repurposing fishing boats as mobile clinics. Engineers redesigned flood barriers in record time. That city became a model for rapid recovery under fire. Silence wasn't her goal. Engagement was. Our psychological labs test fear thresholds. We train units to operate with 18 hours of sleep deprivation, constant data overload, unpredictable threats. We build not just stronger soldiers, but stronger societies. A counselor from Jareth whispered, Such extremes. Does this not strip you of compassion? Voss shook her head. Compassion is the reward for endurance. Once you know you can survive anything, you help others survive too. Our empathy isn't weakness, it's purpose. Then she explained. Unity. On Earth, disasters erase borders. When a superstorm struck 2 continents, militaries competed to send aid faster. Rival nations shared real-time intelligence. Engineers collaborated across old grievances. Enemies became partners in reconstruction. We discovered cooperation is survival's cousin. Vexren's expression hardened. Yet you turned technology you received into weapons. Voss's voice dropped. We reverse-engineered Dravari systems to understand dread. We didn't. Create monsters. We studied yours and learned how easily control slides into tyranny. She took a breath. Fear of losing autonomy drives us. You invaded, stripped us of choice, then wondered why we fought back. We don't glorify suffering. We incorporate it. We carry every scar as instruction. A delegate from the Vokri clan asked quietly, What makes you apex predators, then? Voss's gaze pierced the assembly. Not our claws or missiles. Our refusal to accept defeat. When you corner an apex predator, it either dies or adapts instantly. We chose adaptation. She stepped back into the center circle. You thought you could test us with a show of force. Instead, you triggered the trait you fear most, collective willpower. That's the human weapon you can neither destroy nor surrender. Voss folded her arms calmly. Understand this. The deadliest hunter isn't the one with the sharpest teeth. It's the one with the strongest mind. A tremor ran through the chamber as Ambassador Vexren Tal finally found his voice. His robes rustled with indignation. Major Voss, he spat, you speak of survival, resilience, unity, but offer no path for peace. You bind us with fear, not alliance. Voss met his glare without hesitation. She stepped forward, boots clicking on the alloy floor. I'm not here to broker hollow accords, she said. I'm here to define terms that guarantee you'll never repeat this mistake. Her gaze swept the assembled delegates. Earth seeks no dominion. We offer cooperation, trade, shared research, cultural exchange on one condition. Any act of aggression against us triggers immediate, uncompromising retaliation. A chorus of whispers flooded the chamber. The Jareth envoy raised a slender hand. And what form will this retaliation take? Voss's expression remained impassive. We won't launch full-scale war. We'll neutralize whoever instigates hostilities. Strike first, strike decisive, disable their fleets, command networks, and infrastructure until they surrender or collapse. Then we'll rebuild under our supervision, swiftly, surgically, without collateral mercy. Murmurs grew louder. The Vokri ambassador's tendrils trembled. You speak of destruction and reconstruction as though they are routine operations. They are, she replied coolly. Earth's recovery protocols make us unmatched architects of restoration, but don't mistake that skill for generosity. If you cross the line, you forfeit all rights to leniency. A hush fell. Even Vexerin paused, at a loss for his next retort. From the back, the Andari delegate, a lithe being with opalescent skin, leaned forward. Is this your final stance? No compromise beyond deterrence? Voss nodded once. We'll sign non-aggression pacts. We'll sit on diplomatic councils. But anyone who attacks us discovers there is no sanctuary from human resolve. Silence. Pressed in again, heavy and watchful. Finally, the Torshak delegate rumbled. You ask trust, yet demand the power to annihilate first. How do we reconcile that? She allowed a measured breath before answering. Trust is earned. We offer proof of our word by sharing defensive blueprints, planetary shields, rapid disaster response systems. We invite you to learn how to secure your worlds. But be aware, the same blueprints contain protocols we'll deploy against any foe. The gallery of dignitaries absorbed that with pale gasps. Counselors exchanged glances, some hopeful, others fearful. Vexerin stood rigid, his arrogance eroded by uncertainty. A soft chime sounded as the vote commenced. Delegates moved their holocards onto the consent or restrict panels. Voss watched, arms folded, as panels flickered green or red with each cast ballot. Minutes stretched into decades. Finally, the lead moderator announced, a silence ripping like cloth, by majority, Earth retains sovereign status and observer privileges under the New Human Conditions Treaty. No applause followed, no cheers. A handful of delegates bowed, stiffly. Most simply stared, stunned. Vexerin stared at his deflated robes, unable to mask his dismay. Voss inclined her head in acknowledgement. I appreciate your decision, she said. Take heed of your choice. Turning on her heel, she strode toward the exit corridor. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing the sterile brightness beyond. With each step away, the chamber seemed to exhale. Just before the threshold, she paused and looked back over her shoulder. Her presence filled the frame, a living testament to the pact they'd forged in fear and respect. Let this be the last time you doubt human intention, she whispered, though every delegate heard it. Because the next time you test us, you won't find mercy, you'll find the end of hope. The doors sealed shut behind her. The council chamber's lights dimmed to stand by. In the corridors beyond, security teams exchanged awed looks, and staffers hurried to transmit the outcome across the Union's networks. Across countless worlds, orbital beacons blinked to life, broadcasting a simple directive in every major language. Human sovereignty recognized. Do not engage. In distant systems, traders paused mid-exchange, diplomats halted their negotiations, and peacekeepers hesitated, recalling the image of the lone human who outmaneuvered an empire with nothing but resolve and unshakable purpose. Planetary governments issued advisories advising caution. Academies revised curricula on conflict theory. Private sectors queued for defense licenses adapted from Earth's disclosed designs. and far beyond the Council's reach, where countless species listened to the echo of humanity's warning, AHE single truth crystallized. In the vast tapestry of stars, only one civilization proved it would never yield, and that was more terrifying than any armada.